Welcome to Thrive Radio, expert visionary and innovative business, life, and relationship advice to live a life of doing the impossible with your host, Amy Montgomery.
This is episode number 28 with Mountains in Mind. Welcome to Thrive Radio. I'm your host, Amy Montgomery, entrepreneur and business coach, and I've decided to bring on other successful entrepreneurs to share their story and how they're helping others to do the impossible. Today, my guest is Darren Hunt. He's a performance coach, a mountain leader, inspirational speaker, and is an operational member of Buxton Mountain Rescue Team. He combines his values of wanting to help others with his love for the great outdoors and launched Mountains in Mind to help you climb mountains in your own business. Welcome, Darren.
Thank you very much.
I'm so excited to have you on today because what you do is so unusual, and you've also been able to really go after your dreams and make them happen. And I think that you've achieved some things that a lot of people would like to achieve and haven't. So started in IT project management, and today you spend time hiking through mountains and helping people to achieve their dreams in their business. So how did you make those dreams come true for yourself?
Yeah, what a journey really for, sort of just preparing really for this sort of interview or podcast, and gives you really good time to reflect and just to sort of pay gratitude of how far I've come. Very different life now that I lead compared to sort of IT project management. We used to work with partners at IBM over here in the UK and Europe. And before that, before I got into IT consultancy, I used to work in retail.
Oh, wow.
And I fell into retail because I didn't get in the military. And I didn't get into the military because I listened to outside influences. My father didn't want me to go into the military at the time. And so I let that influence my decision. And I just fell into retail. It was a jewelry shop, believe it or not, selling gold rings and watches. And it was just a job for me. But that progressed, and I managed to get a job into IT, into computers. And then I just through networking, which I didn't realize I was doing at the time, networking and getting on with people, and I progressed up to an IT consultant, which wasn't too bad considering I actually left school with no qualifications at all.
Wow.
And it wasn't really what I wanted to do, but it paid really well. I ended up on a sort of a six-figure salary, all the perks and company vehicles and pension schemes and all the normal corporate strappings that tend to come with that. But I've always been heavily into the outdoors, mainly hiking and trekking in the mountains of the UK. And I suppose the travel bug as well was from when we were growing up. We used to go in, we call a caravan in the UK, but on the trailer, and then take that around the UK and with my parents, and I just spend holidays and vacations sort of out into the wilderness. And it was a moment when I had the opportunity in 2005 to hike to the summit of Kilimanjaro. And it was during those 10 days I was out in Tanzania that I had what people say is a light bulb moment. I was on the summit night. It was dark. It was cold. It was really tough because of the altitude. And it was just a moment there. It was bizarre. I can still remember it to this day. I was changing the batteries on a head torch of a fellow trekker. And it was that moment that I thought, this is what I want to do. Not change batteries for a living in head torches, but introduce people to these amazing locations, around the world. And this is 2005 as IT. I had no idea how that transition was going to make, or to enable me to transit from an IT consultant to somebody, to a mountain guide, to a mountain leader. It was just no idea. But the seed was planted at that time. To come back and, back into the normal, rat race. But something had changed within me. I started looking for ways out of IT. So I looked at various multi-level marketing businesses. And then I watched a TV program about real estate. And I thought, actually, this could be my way out of corporate IT. I had to replace, so in my mind at the time, is to replace this big pay packet, like for like, which obviously, which is not what I did. But it was real estate that sort of gave me the ticket, they opened the door really to enable me to leave corporate IT to redevelop myself, really. I became, through that process of personal development, my mindset had to change from a corporate rat race employee to go out there and go it alone. And it was, as we know, it's a mindset is a big part of that. So I went through Tony Robbins style training, became a certified NLP master practitioner, did a lot of presentation skills, training as well. I did this just to enhance my sales techniques to secure real estate. But what I didn't realize was happening, I was actually changing myself.
Wow.
And able then to then help others. And I wanted to set up initially it was set up a outdoor business, travel business to take people around and inspire people to go and do these trips. But what actually was being developed out there was a business that I wanted to create to actually help business owners as well. And I didn't know how that was going to develop in the early days of Mountains in Mind. But 6 years ago, I quit the corporate rat race with the help of obviously the real estate. It gave me an income to actually go big, really, and to set up Mountains in Mind, and then to take my first set of clients to Kilimanjaro.
So when you saw this commercial for a real estate, did you end up going to a conference, or did you, because that's a lot to learn. I mean, there's a lot of legal things involved.
Massive amount to learn. Yes. And I actually saw it on the program and then got onto Google or whatever the search engine was 11, 12 years ago, Ask Jeeves or whoever it was. Question, maybe one for the listeners to answer. But yes, I went onto the search engines and found a weekend training conference. It was on that conference that we'd refinanced the house. We'd taken £70,000 sterling out of our property, and thought, right, we've got to get into real estate because there's something about it that is going to help us, to help me, to achieve these dreams. After the conference, we bought 2 properties. And we had no money. It's like, right, okay, so that's not really going to enable us, these 2 properties, enough cash flow to enable me to leave corporate world. So then it was another more Googling. We've met some people on this particular training course who ended up being my mentor. We were buying a lot of properties, no money down. So using other people's money or a technique. You can't sort of do it so easily nowadays. But basically, we had no money left, so we were buying properties for no money down. And that would then increase our cash flow enough to go into some more education, to invest in ourselves, but more into property education as well, to learn all the legal aspects of property. And that is still being continued to this day. I do coach other property investors as well as, people want to change their lives as well.
Amazing.
Outdoors.
So now that you've gone through this journey and you've achieved so much, what's the number one thing that you're most grateful for?
Really good question. And I was listening to your podcast, and I often think about how would they answer this? Moving aside, obviously, I'm very grateful for my daughters, but for my family, for all the the sunshine and everything else. So what's that one thing I am grateful for? I think I'm grateful for making that bold decision to follow the dream. Not to let it be dormant forever and live life with regrets. And I actually made the leap really from corporate life when I was 43. I made that decision when on Kilimanjaro I was 35. So I think, the one thing was I'm grateful for making that decision. Because I often look back, and when things are tough, we know things get tough in entrepreneurial world, and you think, let me just go back to the job I used to have before. And then the cold sweats come. And you think, oh, no way. I couldn't do that now. I'm sitting here in the office now and there is office time, but still get, if I wasn't in the office doing this, I wouldn't be able to take, people on these hikes around the world who just come back from Nepal. So I'm just grateful for making that decision because that leads to all the gratitude as well, I think.
So what's been your intention in creating the Mountains in Mind?
I often think about the early days of Mountains in Mind, probably 7-8 years ago when I was just being introduced and going through that personal development, and obviously that still continues to this day. And it was like, right, I want to create Mountains in Mind to help and inspire other people to make this leap of faith that I have done now and still going through at that time. And that was the main driver, and it's developed into other things as well. And But that was the main drive, is to help people with the mindset, but using the great outdoors, the fresh air, nature, obviously it's becoming more prevalent now in the press, sort of mindfulness, we've got to get back in touch with nature. There's a lot more stress in the world now. So that's opened a lot more doors for me in that aspect. So now we're working with business owners who possibly have lost their way after making that leap of faith. So it was, whether it's entrepreneurs, whether it's sort of property investors who have left the busy, hectic corporate world and gone to busy, hectic entrepreneur world, and actually let that dwarf there, and their reasons why have probably got lost a little bit along the way.
Yeah.
And what we found as well, because we've run a few trips now with this, that networking in a neutral environment, not a hotel, not a bar, not the sort of the typical places where we tend to network, is let's do it into nature. Let's do it into some amazing place. Why not Kilimanjaro, Everest Base Camp, northern, the Atlas Mountains in North Africa. And let the environment inspire you in that direction. And really great now bonds have been formed, a lot of joint ventures, a lot of businesses have changed direction. Some businesses have closed, but changed direction of where they need to be, because the owner, the entrepreneur, the coach, the property investor has actually got back in touch with themselves. Why did they do this? Why did they make that move in the first place? Because opportunity, shiny pennies, we've all been there.
So what are some of the mountains that you've climbed? Because I want people to really kind of, understand all the different places you take people. And also, are there any testimonies that stand out, that somebody that's gone on your trip and you really, they really had a breakthrough, or it was the beginning of something new in their life?
Yeah, absolutely. Kilimanjaro, I call that the mountain of dreams. That's where I had the dream of making the transition. I've done that 6 times now. I'm scheduled to do it 2 times next September, just before fall.
How many miles is that?
How many miles? It's 45 miles in duration over the course of, we do this over 8 days.
Okay.
And we're quite proud to announce that we've actually got a 100% success rate on this mountain, where the average is 82%. So we put a straight strategy, build the best team. You use the sort of ethos of entrepreneurs and building a great team around you. Took me 2 years to find the partner we use now in Tanzania that we work with. The ethics and everything else, and the values. So we've created a really good system now that enables all our clients to get to the summit. We've just come back from Everest Base Camp. That's my 3rd trip to Everest Base Camp, and that was a really amazing trip this year, as everything is to Everest Base Camp and the Himalaya, and Tubikel, which is the highest mountain in North Africa. And the reason why I've chosen Tubikel, certainly for our UK clients, is it's only a short 4-hour flight from the UK to North Africa. And it's a completely different world. Well, we've got a trip going out there in the end of March, and it's just a weekend. We can do this at weekend. So that's 4,000, about 14,000 foot mountain.
Wow.
Out there. So we don't have anything in the UK that big. In Europe, yes, we do. Obviously the highest one in Western Europe is Mont Blanc, which is 4,800 meters, and in feet. A lot of our clients who joined us on the last Everest Base Camp trip were from the US. So I say meters, and they'll say, what's that in feet? We used to do it now. So the biggest breakthrough, if there's one breakthrough that can spring to mind, is a client and a friend of mine, Sharka Wild. And she originated from the Czech Republic. She grew up behind the Iron Curtain. So, it was still sort of the communism and all that. So she had a lot of constraints. Obviously, one for being a lady in an Eastern Bloc country, but also with the constraint of communism and obviously, that went around it. The wall came down, obviously, in, 89 now. And she wanted to expand herself. So she moved over to the UK probably about 15 years ago. Worked in corporate in the city of London, but wanted to do things for herself. So she set up a real estate agency, a part of the UK in Oxfordshire. You may have heard of Oxford University. So it's in the same area of Oxford University. And she was having trouble within her business. She wanted to grow it. She didn't really know which direction she wanted to go, etc., etc. And she likes coming out on these adventures. So she first joined us in Kilimanjaro 2 years ago, had massive breakthrough. She took some changes with her and herself back into her business. And she then came out to us to North Africa the beginning of this year. And because it was a small, intimate group of just purely business owners, we just had 5 to 6 days of just pure networking. Out of that, she had some massive breakthroughs from then. She went back and made some drastic changes within the business, let some staff go, brought some new staff in, and realised that she needs to grow a business to realise her dreams and then to buy by acquisition.
Okay.
So she taken that off, and then she joined us in Nepal this year as well. So she's got the coveted Triple Crown. So everybody comes on 3 trips with us gets this nice little trophy called the Triple Crown. And, she was awarded that. She's had some really good breakthroughs. She wants to go on the public speaking circuit as well to help inspire ladies and other entrepreneurs as well. And we just had a call this morning, actually.
Okay.
Sort of ideas and putting her in connection with a real estate training company who has 52 meetings around the UK as well to get on the speaker circuit there to share her dream and to inspire as well. And to obviously attract from her business joint venture partners as well.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well. So if you say what's one person, there have been many breakthroughs, but probably Shark is the one that springs to mind at the forefront of my mind.
So what do you think it is about being out there, hiking along with the networking? What is it specifically about the mountains you think that really helps people? Is it because there's someplace brand new and out in nature, or do you think it's the exercise or a combination?
I think it's a combination. I think certainly at the moment, and certainly in the UK, and I know it's going to be the same in the US and other parts around the world, Australia, etc. as well, we get too hooked on technology. I know using technology now, and we're so engrossed in technology, and it's at our fingertips, literally in our pocket, 24/7, side of our bed. It's there, and we get too connected. But as we know, it's a cliche, but we're more connected now, but we're more disconnected.
Yeah.
And people are striving for the answer in our hand, and whether it's iPhone, whether it's a smartphone, but not going too deep. But the answers, as we know, are within.
Yeah.
But we need to change that, let's say, a false environment to something more natural, where pretty much we all came from as human beings. And it's that connection back with the fresh air, the mountains, or even wilderness. Doesn't need to be in mountains. It could be the desert. It could be just sort of like, agricultural areas. It could be anywhere where it's not, we haven't got technology around us so much.
Yeah.
And I think with exercise anyway, as we know, the endorphins that are kicked off by just exercise, whether it's walking, whether that's running, whether it's trail running, whether it's skiing, climbing, whatever it is, whether it's going to the gym, we know they're addictive and they're a feel-good factor in our mind. But networking and just being out in the outdoors, not necessarily networking, being out in the outdoors by yourself and just listen to the birds.
Yeah. It's
that form of meditation. I've got a feng shui coach, and my best time for energy is in the morning. It's when the sun is rising. That's my feng shui. That's when I'm the best, and it is. But also with that, it sets you up for the day. You don't need that coffee kick in the morning. It's that run or that walk. It helps you there. But you take a group of like-minded people who want to achieve in their lives and influence other people's lives as well into this environment, and magic just happens. You're out of the let's dress up a bit formal, put our smart shoes on, maybe our jeans, maybe a nice shirt. It's just like when you go running, everybody has a pair of shorts, everybody has a pair of trainers or sneakers, everybody has a running top, all the same.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what's behind that person. So you strip all those layers away, you just become you. And as we know in business, you do business with people you know, like, and trust. So if you've just trekked to the summit of the highest mountain in Africa, you're going to pretty much trust. You're going to know these people because you spent 8 days, maybe shared a tent with them. You're going to know them. You're going to smell the same together, which isn't pleasant. You're going to share a once in a lifetime magical experience with this person that you could possibly either mastermind with, or do some joint ventures, some collaboration in business with. That's got to be more powerful than having a Skype coffee chat, somebody who you might have met on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's obviously a strong connection as well. But these bonds will never, ever disappear.
Yeah, and you're achieving something. You're like achieving something with somebody, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we have follow-up calls as well, you know, Zoom calls. We have Zoom calls before, so everybody gets to meet, you know, sort of lots of people's faces all over Zoom. And you get to meet people beforehand as well. And we have these catch-up meetings and obviously WhatsApp groups. And we use technology, even though, you know, we want to be away from technology, which is a great thing on Kilimanjaro because it doesn't work. No data signal on Kilimanjaro, which is great. Well, there is, but it's so poor and slow, it just doesn't work. So you just leave your phone alone. Yeah. And then that's it. You know, unfortunately, depends which way you look at it, the main Everest trail now has some super fast 3G and 4G all the way up. And each lodge now has, you know, extreme Wi-Fi, and, you know, so you're disconnected, but not completely. Yeah. You know. But it is what it is. It's a great environment anyway. And just the energy, and you come back and you've always got that thing in common. And, you know, if you're on a public circuit for speaking, you know, you stand up there and share your experience trekking to the summit of Kilimanjaro and what you've brought back from that, it's just going to stand out, you know, and you're quite unique in that environment.
Now, if somebody's listening and maybe they've never done any mountain climbing, but they're interested, what would you say to them? Do they have to prepare before they go and sign up, or can you handle somebody that's brand new, and like what kind of shape do they have to be in?
Absolutely, yeah, and these kind of treks got, you know, like the Everest, obviously the Everest film that came out a couple of years ago. Obviously, the stories dropped around that. Kilimanjaro, they're all the sort of what we class as big ticket trips. Most people have heard of. In fact, who hasn't heard of Everest Base Camp or Everest? You know,
yeah, right.
Kilimanjaro. So that class these as big ticket sort of locations, you know, Machu Picchu and places like that. So it does attract by default people that probably haven't experienced the outdoors. You know, in a lot of ways, certainly haven't probably hiked or trekked in a mountain environment. For the training, we welcome anybody that comes along because there's no technical climbing, there's no ropes, no harnesses, we don't have ice squeezers, we don't need crampons, anything like that on these treks. So it's pretty much open to anybody. And I was privileged 3 years ago to be involved with a wheelchair summit attempt for Kilimanjaro.
Oh, wow.
As well, which is completely life-changing for lots of people as well. So pretty much anybody can sort of come. I call it the Kilimanjaro mindset. It's going to be a tough trek. So if you can be mentally prepared as much as you possibly can, and this part of our pre-trip coaching and our sort of work we do with all our clients beforehand. And fitness, yeah. If you can be you don't need to be a marathon runner. You don't need to be running sort of 30, 40, 50 mile Western State 100 mile sort of trail races or anything like this. But if you can have a basic level of fitness, and my sort of rule of thumb, my guide is if you can walk 2 days in hilly or mountainous environment and be okay on the Monday, you're more than ready to come and do something like Kilimanjaro.
I think too that people underestimate how in shape or out of shape they are. I think that you and I have talked, and my dad mentioned that my dad hikes a lot, and I think the last hike he brought me on, I think I mentioned to you, was 21 miles of the Pacific Crest Trail in one day. And I was so mad at him because he told me it was going to be 4, just going 4. 21 miles later, and I at that time I had said, I'm not in shape. I'm not ready for some huge major climb, because I'm used to him taking me up to these, really steep mountains and run up the mountain because, if you go too slow, you get too tired. But I'm like, I'm not there. And then 21 miles in one day. So, to a degree, you can push yourself a lot farther than you mentally think.
Absolutely, and there's a saying, I think, isn't it, goes something along, you're a lot fitter, you're a lot stronger than you think you are.
Yeah.
And that has a direct correlation to business as well, and to life.
It's true, doesn't it? Wow, that's deep.
Yeah. So there's a lot of correlation and a lot of connections you can make in business and in life by being out in the hills and by being in the mountains. And Kilimanjaro is a tough challenge. There's no two ways about it. And it's not tough on terrain as such, there's no technical climbing. It's tough because of the altitude. You're climbing very high, very quick, very fast. And a lot of people do suffer from the altitude sickness on them. And that's not being on oxygen and being helicoptered off. You just feel ill.
Yeah.
For the listeners out there who have probably drank a little bit too much and felt not so good the next day, people say, what does altitude sickness feel like? And it's like a bad hangover. If you can be relatively fit, fantastic. But most people absolutely underestimate how fit you need to be. And again, you can correlate that with business.
Yeah.
How difficult setting something up that, you're going to be working 12, 18-hour days to get this baby off the ground, which is your business. And you need that Kilimanjaro mentality just to keep on going, just to keep one foot in front of the other. The small steps, the slide edge, Jeff Olson, we know the story, to keep moving. So you can draw a lot of, correlation back. I'll use that word so many times in a minute, but, similarities back to hiking something like Kili.
So what has been your truth that you've held fast to through working in IT to where you are today? What's been your one truth?
My one truth is that vision I had, sort of a friend and a client. This is said to me, he remembered sitting on a ski lift with me probably 10 years ago, just at the start of this journey, part of the way, 1 or 2 years into this journey. And I said to him on that ski lift, I want to finish work. I want to qualify as a mountain guide. I want to be a volunteer mountain rescue person with Buxton Mountain Rescue. That's a sort of a town that I live in the UK. And property is going to do that for me. And he saw me speak 3 years ago at a real estate investor meeting on that. And I just done my second trip with clients. And he has now become a client 2 hours as well. He's been on 2 trips with me so far. And he said, you've always had that dream and you've always stuck to it, and I admire that to you. And I met a friend at a black tie dinner. Just literally, I landed at Heathrow at 6:00 in the evening, drove 2 hours north to Birmingham, which is a town, second city of the UK, in black tie. So 2 days before, I was unshaven, I was in trekking gear. 2 days after that, I was in the black tie, and with 700 real estate investors. You couldn't get 2 different worlds. Want to do merch. But a friend of mine there, Paul, he said to me, as a vast majority, he's a coach as well, so the vast majority of people in this room have left their old life, gone into real estate, and created this business and got engrossed in this business, and not really had a reason why they wanted to do this. I followed your journey since we first met 9 years ago, and I can't think of anybody else who's stuck to their reason why.
Yeah.
You've gone out, you've qualified as a mountain guide, you've run these trips, you've done what you said you were going to do on the tin. And I've done that. And I always remember putting these post-it notes on the window, my goals, what I wanted to do when I first was introduced to coaching, being coached myself 10 years ago.
That's amazing. So I know you kind of mentioned this again. So if people are listening, they're interested in your next trips, what are some of the things that you've got going on?
Yeah, we're going to launch over the Christmas period, over the holiday, because pretty much closed down a little bit over the holiday period here. We're going to be launching dates for Kilimanjaro for September of next year. This is going to be focused at real estate investors and entrepreneurs of any background. So whether you're an internet marketer, whether a real estate investor, whether you're a coach, I believe, we mastermind with people from different niches, with different industries. We can learn and bring skills into our own niche. I look outside of the industry to bring the techniques and everything else back into the travel business. So, all our trips are posted on our website, which is mountainsinmind.com. And because we run our trips all around the world, you can be geographically anywhere. We've had clients from Australia. My business partner, my life partner, Claire, she was out there, who's qualified as a mountain guide as well. She was out there with a group of 8 Australian business owners, Australian New Zealand business owners in an area of Nepal, which was not as strenuous as base camp. It was more luxurious, really nice quality lodges, and then they stopped at a school which they'd raise money for at the end. That's what we're going to be focusing more philanthropic, combining all this together. And it's all full now, but we're heading back out to North Africa end of March.
Oh, wow.
what I was finding, somebody asked me this a few weeks ago. It was actually a client. Darren, what do you do for your hobby? And I had to stop for a moment. I thought, actually, this used to be my hobby. Now it's my business. And people say follow your passion to make it your dream life. But what I found out, where was my escape? And everybody says, you hear the saying, create a life that you don't need to take a holiday from.
Yeah.
I tried that, and I still need to take a holiday, but I couldn't think of what holiday I needed to take.
Yeah.
Something. I thought, actually, this is what I used to take a holiday too. So what we're doing now is we're limiting the number of trips we go on, we lead, because we actually want to do it for ourselves as well.
Okay.
So we're only looking at running now probably 2 to 3 trips a year.
Okay.
These are going to be special trips, Kilimanjaro and that. But you've got to feed the market, feed your customer base. So, but you've also got to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
And when I had that dream back in 2005, I don't think I said to myself, I actually want to create a travel business, as in, run 30, 40 trips a year, because then I'll become the CEO.
Yeah.
And then I lose touch of what I really wanted to do this for. I'm CEO of a real estate business.
Yeah.
I run this business because I'm very passionate about it, and I'm very passionate about taking people and seeing those changes as well. And sometimes it's difficult to say no, but necessary.
Yeah. I think it's so powerful that you're able to, find a business to fund your dreams. And, that's just a unique thing where, to your point that you've made, that a lot of people get lost in building a business, and they get lost in why they wanted to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's really an amazing example, I think.
Yeah. And I felt guilty of creating this property business. Johnny Penny was making lots of money from real estate. And then I wasn't exercising. I was putting a lot more weight again. And I was like, hang on a minute. I was resenting going out and taking time out to go out and fulfill my hobby, which was trekking at the time. And I had to sort of take a real good look at myself. So hang on a minute. The reason why you're doing real estate or property is because you want to do this.
Yeah.
So just go do it. And I had a big life sort of change in 2010 where I got divorced or got separated from my wife, and then a year or two later was divorced. So my property portfolio, was divided, and I lost quite a bit of income from it. So at that time it was, okay, do I carry on my main focus in real estate and then forget my dream for another 2 or 3 years, or just be appreciative of what I've got left and just go and become qualified and set this business up that you wanted to set up? And it was the latter that I followed. I'll just set the business up. Let's go for it. I knew I was going to come back into real estate further down the line. Yeah. Which I am now. Yeah,
and you just have to go for it. You have to step out, and because they're never, as they always say, there's never a perfect time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is never a perfect time, or is there? The time is now.
Yeah, right. Right now is the perfect time.
I needed that push from IT, from the corporate world, because I was quite happily running 2 worlds together, but I knew that one had to go, and I knew it was the corporate. And I was pushed. I was given a choice of retraining or to leave. And thankfully, I had that vision and the boldness to say, I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
Company for 14 years, I had 3 months severance pay.
Oh, wow.
Corporate world thing, Hey ho. So the choice was made for me, but I knew I needed to make it, and it was great, and it's working out. Let's not be mindful here that it does have its problems.
Yeah.
It does have its cold, sweaty, waking up and what am I doing this for moments, and everybody that's in business will definitely relate to that. Some mistakes, some big mistakes, life-changing mistakes, some costly mistakes. But I think that's just the entrepreneurial journey, and we just keep moving forward.
Yeah, and sticking to your why.
Absolutely.
So if you were able to give yourself one piece of advice when you first started out as an entrepreneur, what would it be?
Believe in your dreams, believe in yourself. Yeah, just believe it will work out in the end. If you have those strong enough reason why. And I think, as you know, as you know, as well as the coach and property mentor and everything you do, we're often buried that dream because we've been in corporate or the job world. And education is the same in the UK as it is in the US. Your dreams are just kicked out of you. You're in that machine, as we all know. And a question I asked sort of from when I coach people was, what did you want to do when you were 9?
Oh, wow.
10 or 11? Astronaut, be in the military, do this, do that, whatever. Because we dream then, don't we? Just before we go into the higher schools where you're not allowed to dream. You can't collaborate. You can't work with other people. You're solitary. You're on your own. So I take people back to that moment and say, okay, so what's stopping you from doing that now? And then the excuses came out, and the reasons, not excuses, are the reasons why we can't do this, but we know the excuses.
Yeah.
All come out, and then, okay, then we start working on that.
I think when I was that age, I wanted to be an astronaut.
Yeah. I always remember watching, I think it was 12 or 13, watching Mount Everest, programs about Everest on the TV. And I couldn't believe that something that was 5.5 miles high and still growing, dropped a little bit in the earthquake, but still growing every single year. That could be so, and it was sort of like, I was fascinated by Everest. And when I first saw that back in 2012, I cried. Yeah. Naturally bizarre. I had sort of tears in my eyes and sort of like, oh man, I'm here. I'm good people now just sort of thinking about it,
Yeah.
And it's great to see that reaction to when people see Everest. If they've had that lifelong dream, that dream for many years to go and see Mount Everest, and then they see it for the first time with the plume of cloud coming off the top, that iconic, and just the tears and just the solitude that they're in, and film it, because you can film it now on the iPhone. And I know, testimony whilst they're there in the moment.
Yeah.
It's just, for me, is, my job here is done.
Yeah.
Really. And that's there, if I had to go tomorrow, then I'll be happy with what I've achieved now. 12 years ago, corporate IT, other than my 2 children, I wouldn't have been so happy. Yeah. Now my children can be proud of me, and they are. But they've told me I can't climb Mount Everest.
There's limits.
Yeah. Daddy doesn't want to die.
And lose some limbs and.
That's digits and go blind and. There's too many people. I won't go into that. It's a little rant, but yeah.
So I want to mention again your website, Mountains in Mind. If anyone is listening, you want to check out Darren's programs, and he's also on Facebook and Twitter under the same name. Again, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been just an amazing podcast, and it's been inspirational in so many ways.
Thank you, Amy. I've been looking forward to this for months now, I think, when we first connected.
Yeah.
Month it was May, June, I can't remember now. It was a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
And I've been so much looking forward to it, because I knew your sort of background as well. I knew your father, your dad's into all the outdoors as well, so I knew there's lots of energy there.
It makes me want to go on one of your trips, honestly.
Hey, just come along. Absolutely. Put the details up. So we also, it's just amazing.
Well, if you're listening, I want to thank you for listening in. If you want more information about this podcast, you can go to acalltothrive.com. Thank you guys for listening, and have a wonderful week.